practitioner here at CSL Parker. I'm your host for today's service, and I am not an acrobat or a dancer. But we got through that okay. Other practitioners in service today are Luann Hillisland, who will be assisting on the platform, and Kenny Johnson, who facilitated our pre-service meditation. If you haven't checked that out, I really encourage you. It's for people that, if you meditate or if you don't, it's different in a small group. It's different with other people. So I encourage you to check it out. At CSL Parker, we honor all paths to the divine, all paths to God, all paths to spirituality, all paths to your higher self. Whatever it is for you, however you define it, however you got here, wherever you came from, and wherever you're going, we honor you, and we're glad you're here today. At CSL Parker, we provide spiritual tools for personal and community transformation. We fulfill this vision with our Sunday gatherings by offering classes and workshops and by being of service to the greater community. A wonderful example of that service is our Sock It To 'Em campaign. Last summer, we contributed individually new socks. We had laundry baskets full of new socks to take to this organization called Sock It To 'Em. Their mission is to put socks on the feet of men, women, and children experiencing homelessness or who are in need. This group was recently on one of our local news channels. They started in 2011, and they just celebrated their donation of the 1 millionth pair of socks. Wow. We didn't give 1 million, but we did our part. What's interesting about this is that this was suggested by someone that attends church right here. So if you have an idea for something, how we can share our bounty, be of service to the community, please do let us know. Practitioners have white stoles, board members, some of you know. Kenny Johnson, if you have an idea, just share it around and we'll make sure it gets to the right person. So, I know there's a few people here for the very first time. It is not my intention to embarrass you, but if you would be so kind as to just raise your hand or stand up if you'd like, so that we know who you are. Boy, you snuck in on me. Welcome. Welcome. Irene has welcome packets for you. We do encourage you to fill out that card so you get our weekly email so that you know what's going on here at CSL Parker. And I have a few announcements. Some are covered in the weekly email, and maybe some aren't. So first and foremost, Reverend David Howard will be joining us on April 1st as a staff minister. This is no April Fool's joke, people. This is for real. David Howard was ordained in 2017 and has served several different churches since then. However, we are not bringing him on as our senior minister. We are bringing him on as a staff minister with a narrower focus. A big part of his focus will be these Sunday services. This will allow us a chance to get to know him, test drive him, so to speak. He is licensed currently with Unity, and we have a reciprocal agreement, but he must fulfill a few things to transfer his license to CSL Parker. When those two things are accomplished, we know him, we like him, hopefully, or don't, and his license is active with CSL, then we will have the opportunity to vote and decide if Reverend David Howard is the person to be our next senior minister or not. That first Sunday in April, April 2nd, we will be having a potluck to welcome him, to honor him, to show him the love that CSL Parker is right through the bellies. So get that on your calendar. Our potlucks are pretty awesome and a lot of fun. You know, we've been hearing about this Holistic Expo thing for months. It's coming up real soon. April 15th and 16th. So file your taxes, be done with that, and look forward to the Holistic Expo. Amy and Shirley have been working really hard on marketing this to vendors. We have over 100 or 100 prepaid vendors for this show, and our booths are all sold out.
All right.
Amy doesn't make it to churches often because this has been close to a full-time job for her. One of the things she's moving into is soliciting volunteers to help at this show. So stay tuned. You'll have an opportunity to go to this show, not pay to get in, and experience all the wonderful things. All the booths, it's holistic and artistic. So as we come together with love, with joy, Dr. Vern is coming together with his family as we are here now. They are coming together for the honoring, for the celebration of the passing, the recent passing of Dr. Vern's son. He has asked that we hold him in our prayers, that we know that he and his family and his son Jay are all in the loving arms of a loving God, and that this experience is as it should be for them. So I have one more announcement, but I'd like it if you'd remember Dr. Vern when we stand up and greet one another. And as you share love with each other, just send a little love towards him. Next Sunday is our annual meeting. It will be after the service and after we share a little coffee and goodies together. So this will be a review of 2022 and some insight into the direction the board holds for 2023. It's really important that you be there to share your input, your experience, so that collectively we can create the spiritual community that we all want. Now is the time to greet one another. Some of us do not need to stand up because we'll come to those of you who don't. But if you would be so kind as to stand or not, put on your love and share it with one another, handshake, hugs, whatever works for you. But let's say hello to each other now.
On the shore, and let the water run. Let go of the shore, float into the mystery. Let go of the shore, and let the water carry you. Let go of the shore, float into the mystery.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. How wonderful to have you all here. I'm going to begin by sharing one of my favorite quotes from Ernest Holmes. It's really short, but I love it. All the power of the universe is with you. Feel it, know it, and then act as though it's true. Let us meditate. Straighten your spine, soften your eyes if you wish. Breathe out completely and take a deep breath in. Hold it, and when you let it go, release all that does not serve you. One more time. Breathing in and holding and let go. Now, breathing normally, sink into your chair. Notice as you relax that any tightness in your muscles uncoil. They'll do that for you if you ask them to. Imagine them uncoiling, just like the strands of a rope. And now, see a veil that's surrounding you is gradually lifted. All separation from Source falls away. As the curtain is lifted, feel the divine love that is always there for you. Oh, light is embracing and infusing your whole being, all the way to your core. Allow that divine love and light essence to become stronger and more powerful until it permeates the whole of you. Every cell, every molecule, all of your body, every thought, every emotion, and your entire spiritual being as well. The divine presence is always there with you. It's everywhere in your life. Know that divine love is woven into all the ordinary events. Divine presence is always with you, always in your relationships, every experience, and every situation. Just pull back that curtain. Source is there for you. Open yourself up to your own divine holiness. Remember that all the power of the universe is with you. And this divine vision is the very truth of who you are. And now, coming back into this room completely, fully grounded, please pray with me. I know that we are all one with all of creation, magnificent in and of ourselves, and as a part of the universal whole. We are connected, body, mind, and spirit, to our very holiness. May we each completely open ourselves to enjoy this most magnificent music offered by Reka and Alan and DJ. And may we be fully receptive to raising our consciousness today as Zamira shares her very special talk with us. Join me in saying, and so it is. Thank you.
Is my decision. It's up to me to give all my heart. Love is my decision, and no one else can tell me to stop. Oh, once I decide to change my mind, God will show me how. Love is my decision, my decision right here and now. Love is my decision. It's up to me. Stand on that pavement. Oh, love is my decision, but no one else can make me forget. Oh, once I decide to change my mind, God will show me how. Love is my decision. It's my decision right here and now. Love is my decision. It's up to me to dance down that road. Love is my decision. No one else can lighten my load. All at once I decide to change my mind. God will show me how. Love is my decision. It's my decision right here and now. It's my decision right here and now. It's my decision right here and now.
Excuse me. It is my great pleasure and honor to introduce our speaker today, Reverend Zamira Jazworska. I think I got it 80% correct. She is back for an encore message with us. It was so fantastic last time, and I'm so looking forward to hearing her message today. Reverend Zamira is an assistant minister at Mile High Church, where her focus is interfaith ministry and membership. She left a 21-year career as a school psychologist in order to join the ministry full-time in 2021. I know if she can survive that, she can survive us. So, interesting, interfaith is part of her focus. She is also an ordained Sufi minister. Her talk title today is Living the Question, the Superpower of Wonderment. I think this is just such an appropriate talk title for her because Reverend Zamira is a superpower of energy and enthusiasm in a not real big package. Please help me welcome Reverend Zamira to our platform today.
What a delight it is to be back with all of you for this time. I was here on Halloween, and now I get to be here next to this beautiful altar for Valentine's Day. I just love the essence of love, so we are going to jump right in. As Anne so beautifully said, our message today is about living in the question and activating our superpower of wonderment. Wonderment. I hope that by the end of our time together today that we all go home wonder-prone, wonder-struck, and fully tuned in, tapped in, and turned on to the sense that we are wonderful beings, that we always have been, and that it is our divine nature. It is the very essence of who we are. And so, wonder, for our purposes together this morning, is both going to be a noun and a verb. It is a noun in the sense that it is this feeling of amazement. It is this admiration that we come into contact when we come into contact with something so incredibly beautiful, remarkable, and unfamiliar. It is also a noun in the sense that it is that desire in us that wants to know something so deeply and to open and to commune with it. But it is a verb in that we want to feel truly curious about and deeply engage our imaginations in order to bring about this sense of delight and joy in living. Alice Walker, the author of The Color Purple, said that wonder was the absolute foundation of everything. Consider that for a moment. Wonder is the foundation of everything. And C.S. Lewis masterfully spoke about wonder in his presentation, a sermon actually, in Oxford in June of 1942. His sermon was entitled Weight of Glory. And he said, we don't merely want to see beauty. God knows that in and of itself would be enough. We want something else which can hardly be put into words. To be united with beauty, to pass into it, to receive it into ourselves, to bathe in it, and to become a part of it. In that sense, this morning, we are talking about wonder as that superpower in our lives, as we are deepening our relationship not only with ourselves, but most expansively with the divine. I think I spoke about this last time I was here just a little bit, but it's important, so I'm going to bring it back around again. I grew up on a 90-acre farm in the middle of absolutely cornfields in Illinois, and it's a farm that's been in our family since the 1800s. And I grew up in this magical farmhouse with all these nooks and crannies. But being a farm in the middle of the rural Illinois, we didn't have many neighbors. And so, as a result, wonder, in a sense, became one of my very first best friends. I can remember rushing home off the school bus, and I would get out of those school clothes, as my mother always said, get those school clothes off, and I would run out in the back to have a snack by the creek, or the crick, as we refer to it. I would dangle my toes in that stream, and I would feel that luscious mud between my bare toes. And my childhood was a little bit like that little house on the prairie. We would take long bike rides down the fields, and I had the monarch butterflies as my guides. You know, we had barns filled with cats and raspberry bushes. Our garden was an acre long. And I would find litters of kittens in the lily of the valley growing alongside the house. My mother was a biologist, and so she made sure that we knew the genus and species of every single plant as we would walk through the forest. And my dad was an engineer. He had a ham shack in our house, and it was paneled with wood from the actual barn doors. but it was a magical place. I could go there and there were postcards. He was an amateur radio operator, and he would communicate via Morse code with people from around the world. And the walls were hung with these postcards with the call names of all the people from Russia all the way to Cuba that he would speak with. And that place I could go into and I would sort little transistors and little LEDs. LED is a light emitting diode. One of the first things I learned when I was just a little person. But as I was, this house was filled with all of, my dad was also a collector, and so if anyone would pass on in the family, he would go to the estate sale and all of those beautiful treasures would end up in our house. They're still there today. Over 300 radios are present in that house. It's a big house, by the way. Don't give it, just to give you a picture. But he was a collector of musical instruments, and my mother was the church organist. And so in our front room, we had this beautiful church organ. And I remember as a child, I would lay at her feet as she would play those 3 rows of keys, and her feet would dance across the pedals. And Mozart would fill the room. And that was the birthplace of wonderment, that sense of wonderment for me. And I tell you this story of my home because I think that wonder has such a chance to bring us into our home. And by home, I mean home is where our heart is, where our soul, as you so beautifully sung about, exists. Wonder comes from here. And so today, as we move through the exploration of wonderment together, it is my invitation for you to also tap into what brings you home. What brings you into that sense and that presence and that essence of the divine within you? What in your life holds those magical, beautiful keys to unlocking greater and greater wonderment? For me, one of those is nature's gifts. You know, nature has that sense of just zapping me into wonderment. And I become supremely wonder-prone when I'm able to be out excavating through nature in all its glory. But it's also, is it not easy to fall out of our sense of wonderment this day and these times, in all times, in being a human? It is easy to fall out of that touch of that wonder within us, and we get pulled out of that sense of home when we're zapped with worry, or we're zapped with anxiety, or we're zapped with all of the problems and conditions that are going about in our world. Losing our sense of wonder brings all of us into a full sense of separation. It's what I believe John O'Donohue was talking about when he said, when you lose your sense of wonder, you no longer live in the sacramental majesty of the world. And that's when nature, as he was speaking about nature, becomes no longer a presence but a thing. And so he's speaking and giving an example of how we've lost touch with nature. We've lost touch not only with nature in the natural world, nature in terms of the way that we connect with one another, but also within our own nature. And that comes from losing touch with that sense of home and that sense of wonder. I don't know how many of you saw that movie Hook a few years back. It was with Robin Williams, and he played a grown-up Peter Pan, and he had become somewhat of a pirate in his daily life. If you remember, his task in that movie, his journey, was to go back to Neverland, to find his children, and to regain his connection with that sense of wonderment within. And if you can remember, there was this scene where he had been training with the Lost Boys all day. He was a little out of shape, you know, being Peter Pan and that pirate that he had become in daily life as an adulting too much. But he was training with the Lost Boys, and they were working really hard all day long, and they were ravenously hungry. And after a day of working out with the Lost Boys, they came to this banquet table that was set, and it looked like it should be set for a feast. And they all sat down at the table, and the Lost Boys began to dig in. They were just eating and eating and eating, and they were so enjoying this amazing food. But Peter Pan, or Robin Williams, was sitting there, and all he saw was air. He saw nothing on these plates. And yet everyone around him was so enjoying this feast, and his mouth was watering, he was thirsty, and he was looking at them and thinking, what am I missing? They are loving this food. So he started to complain, and the lost boys are like, come on, Peter, what has happened to you? Get your imagination on. Look at this food. Partake of it with us. Have fun. Take it. And he started an argument with the head lost boy. And they started this heated argument between them. And after a little bit, he got so angry that he got so drawn into that argument that he picked up an imaginary piece of food and he flung it at the lost boy. And do you know what happened in that very moment? You could see. He saw that what he flung became visible. It was this big, iridescent glob of goo that was dripping down that lost boy's face. It was the actual food. And what that message so beautifully shows all of us is that we can be so beautifully fed by the passion and the intense connection with our imaginations. That we can activate that sense of wonder within ourselves. And in doing so, we can be so beautifully nourished, so beautifully fed. And we can regain that sense of connection with ourselves. In the Science of Mind teachings, the question really comes, how can we regain our sense of wonder when we are in the midst of all of these conditions, right? When all of these things that are happening in the world are kind of asking us to be the adult Peter Pan. They're asking us to become pirates in search of treasure, but we become in such search of the treasure that we lose sense of the touch of the fact that we already can fly, that we already have Neverland, but it's right here at home within us. It can be so hard, though, can't it, to reach for wonder when we are in the midst of seeing all of the suffering and all of the need around us. You know, in the Science of Mind teachings, we aren't about pretending that suffering doesn't exist. We're not about that. We're not about the spiritual bypass. We are, though, all about elevating our consciousness so that we can be a beneficial presence in the world. We are all about raising our own vibrations and caring for our inner world, so much so that wonder is, we're tapped in and tuned into that wonder so that we can actually share it with the world around us. Wonder is that magical gift, that magical key to all of this. And isn't it a wonderful starting point for this morning? So wonder deepens our relationship with God. And when our relationship with God, with the divine within, is strengthened, our relationships with each other are able to shift. We're able to shift into more of an us instead of a you and a me. And wonder opens us up. It makes us receptive. It makes us able to receive the impulse of the divine. Not only welcome it, but to deeply receive it. And that's when it unlocks our superpower and our collaboration mode with the divine. So there's 3 areas of our life that I want to look at that when we're wonderstruck, we can expand into that capacity to be that beneficial presence in the world. And we're going to, and right now, I'd invite you to, with me, look through that lens of wonder. And the first one that we are going to look at is the area of relationship. Isn't that a fun topic? Isn't that fun? I know for me, though, that hasn't always been just a really smooth walk in the park. It has not been. It has taken a little bit of a trial and errors, maybe even this morning, just a little fall down, get back up. But the thing that happens is that with the lens of wonder, we can really bring a lot of healing and magic to the area of relationship. And I think the key to wonderment in relationship is really being able to see ourselves and others as if we were seeing each other for the very first time. Our founder, Ernest Holmes, wrote wrote extensively about the way we view ourselves and others. He encouraged us again and again to look beyond that worldly view. He said we must understand that we have to rise above much of the world's confused thought. See, the world has dropped its eyes to the ground, hungry for much, but satisfied with little. Therefore, we must strike out for the heights, away from the mists and the fogs of human doubt, and we must see things through the eyes of spirit. Gabrielle Bernstein writes in her book, Judgment Detox, that we begin this process of relational wonderment by asking for the blessing of the holy instant. And for those of you who have studied A Course in Miracles, you'll be familiar with that holy instant. It's that blessed moment when our human vision merges with our spiritual vision, and we open to receive it, to see through divine eyes, with divine eyes. Ernest Holmes also taught that our starting point is to recognize God at the center of our own being, to have faith in this divine presence within us, and to have equal faith in the divine in everyone else. We must come to see that God is the one eternal presence in everyone and in everything. And we must learn to think from this basis. So we got to find it here in order to find it there. Gabrielle goes on to write, to see as if for the first time is to look from and to the heart. Do you remember the first time? Do you remember the first time in your life that you looked upon perhaps your partner, your mate, or perhaps you have been in the presence of a newborn child, your own or someone else's, and how that lens of love was so pure, so present, so innocent, so loving? How were you seeing in that moment? What were you feeling in terms of how did you communicate with that beingness? I'd invite us to live in these questions and have them arise. See what arises within our awareness. What would it be like if next time we move into disagreement that we pick up that lens of wonderment? And we pause, we breathe, we begin to ask the questions and to look with curiosity towards our beloveds. I wonder. I know what a huge challenge that can be in the heat of the moment, but I wonder what would come through in that moment. In some indigenous tribes of Africa, they encourage this deep looking as if for the first time. Subamfu Somé, in her book, The Spirit of Intimacy, Ancient African Teachings and the Ways of Relationships, she says that in her Dagara tribe in West Africa, they make it a practice to view conflict through the lens of wonder, as an invitation to look for the first time. She says, when we find problems arise, we tend to forget about the foundation we've built the relationship upon. But it can be helpful to go back and continue to consider, to tap into that first moment that we came together. Spirit brought us together. To remember that lens of love when you felt closest and strongest, and to draw from that frame of reference into the present moment, looking at any problem from that angle and holding that moment like it's an ally. So the next time you find that conflict is knocking at your door, perhaps try pausing a little and trying that out, focusing in your heart, bringing to mind that first moment of love and see what you see. And so now we're going to turn our lens of wonder on our sense of abundance in our life. And for many of us, that goes straight to our sense of financial abundance, and that's a perfect place to rest it. But I am also asking us to consider that sense of the sufficiency found in God in our life, and that sense of abundance in who we are. You can become wonder-prone in the circulation of money. You can also become wonder-prone in the sense of everything is enough when I come from this place of I am home within myself. In the spiritual economics books, the textbook from our Science of Mind, many of you have probably been in class with it, a real classic. It's something I like to pick up in the middle of the night, when I can't sleep. And the reason I like to pick it up in the middle of the night when I can't sleep is that it has this sense of opening me to see things with wonderment. You know, I'll wake up in the middle of the night and I'll have that little, all the things seem to find their way to the surface in the middle of the night when I wake up. And there's all the things right there. And when I'm in that midst of all the things, I grab that book, and before I know it, kind of shaking all the little things off, and I start to feel this little opening. You know, my grasp on all the things starts to loosen a little bit. And one of the things that Eric Butterworth writes in that wealth is that the wealth of the universe is behind you when you have the right spirit, when you see yourself in the right context, and when you project the right image, not by rejecting what you are, but by celebrating the true I amness that is within you. Your true image, he says, is not something to get. It is a reality to discover. Isn't that amazing news? Isn't that amazing, wondrous thought? That awakens wonderment. It is a reality to discover. And he says, we live in our house of consciousness. So everything we build within our life is that house of consciousness from which we create. One time in those middle of the night little reverie that I had a while back, I had this lightning bolt of wonderment struck me. I was wonderstruck, there it was, in the middle of the night, and there was this message that said, you are the elixir of your life is your elixir of consciousness. Something like that. It was something like that. But anyway, it was something more beautiful in the moment. But that was the essence, is that our house of consciousness is that we live our life from our house of consciousness. And he teaches to achieve prosperity, it lies so vividly in keeping yourself centered in the inner focus of affluence. So you literally begin to exude the consciousness of it. I like to look upon the beaches, you know, those infinite grains of sand. Or I like to look to the cosmos, that infinite Milky Way, that river of stars, because those are those examples of sufficiency in God. This experience is captured so beautifully in Sally Clarkson's book. She writes about awakening wonder. She was a stay-at-home home educator. And it's a book about home education, but she writes this beautiful thing in the introduction to Awakening Wonder. She says, one night her family, who are from the Colorado mountains, they decided to sleep out on the deck under the stars. She says, here we were away from the lights of the city. The whole world of sky sparkled with movement and flashes as though elegantly parading in the heavens, in sync with the pine trees. And we considered that we had box seats and were an audience to the angels rollicking, swirling in the light, moving to the rhythm of those swaying branches. Our magical world was awash with mystery and whimsy. All of us were wonderstruck at the infinite stars. The sky chandelier shimmering, the vastness of the celestial art above, and a calm blanketed us in our delighted participation together as we bathed in a spectacular expanse so generously given that it was a never to be forgotten night of togetherness. So where can you gaze upon the heavens, either in the sky or by looking deep within your own inner world, to gain that vast sense of infinite abundance and rehearse that again and again in your life, especially in those moments when the darkness, the clouds are covering the stars. Sometimes we have to reach within in order to touch them, even in the midst of the clouds. And that brings us to our final area where we're going to focus that lens of wonderment today on that area of health. Health and well-being. Health can be a tricky one, can it not? Because when you're experiencing a condition, or you're experiencing pain, it can be so difficult to reach beyond that sensation and to tap into a sense of wonderment. Because it can be so all-consuming when we're not feeling well or when there's things that are misaligned in this physical temple. One of the most powerful healing stories, I'm sure many of you are familiar with it, comes from Anita Morjani, and she wrote that most powerful book, dying to be me. And just reading that book, there are moments, she talks in that book about her near-death experience. She was in the final stages of cancer, and it was really grim. I mean, she actually reached beyond the physical body into to have an experience of death. And in that book, she has that, the way that she writes, she had such an experience of wonderment that she said that as she was there and she reached beyond into that essence of the life beyond, that she could see so clearly how she was interconnected to all that is. And in those moments, wonderment was really awakened within her because she saw the tapestry of her life. She saw all of the experiences, the thought forms, the relationships, the behaviors, everything in her life that had interwoven together to bring her to that very moment in time, which was an awakening in which she was able to reach beyond and come back and help hundreds of millions of people. And what a gift for that she used her lens of wonderment, her experience of wonderment, to bring back such a healing vision, a capacity, a practice for healing. She shares in her follow-up book, What If This Is Heaven?, some questions that truly drew her into a solid foundation of healing. She asked, how can I love myself more? How can I support myself more? What would I be doing if I loved and supported myself in this moment? And what could I do today to celebrate my good health if I found out that I was completely healed? So even in the midst of the condition, even in the midst of the pain, she began to ask these questions, to live in the question, to try on the wonderment, even in the midst of the very, very contrasting experience, that very deep experience that she had. Those questions of inquiry propelled her into that state of wonder and joy that continues to help and support millions today. Many years back, Carolyn Mace, a medical intuitive, wrote a debut healing book called Anatomy of the Spirit, in which she moves through the chakra system and the 7 sacraments of Christianity and the Kabbalah, Sephirot, and the Tree of Life. And she links them together to form a consciousness map for healing our physical, emotional, mental, and physical bodies. And she closes the book with this statement of wonder that I feel is monumentally supportive for us today in looking upon healing with a sense of wonder. She says, above all else, as you learn the language of your spirit, establish a code of honor for yourself that reflects the spiritual content of your biology. We contain the scripture. We contain divinity. We are divinity. We are the church, the synagogue, and the ashram. We need but close our eyes and feel the energy of the sacraments, the sephirot, the chakras, as the origin of our own power, the very energy that fuels every cell of our being. And so today we close with that ability, that capacity to live in the question as a state of openness, as a state of that deep relaxation that Luann so beautifully led us into. But if we don't ask, we're close down to receiving. Receiving brings about the wonderment. And the wonderment is found here at home. And so if you feel like it, I'd invite you to place your hands on your heart to feel that home within. As I close with these words of Father John O'Donohue and then move us into prayer. His words are a prayer for presence. Awaken to the mystery of being here and enter the quiet immensity of your own presence. Have joy and peace in the temple of your senses. Receive encouragement when the frontiers beckon. Respond to the call of your gift. feel the courage to follow its path. Let that flames of anger free you from all falsity. May the warmth of heart keep your presence aflame. May anxiety never linger about you. May your outer dignity mirror the inner dignity of your soul. Take time to celebrate the quiet miracles that seek no attention. Be consoled in the secret symmetry of your soul. May you experience each day, each moment as a sacred gift, woven around the heart of wonder. And so right now, as we feel this beautiful essence and presence of the divine, that love that is present in each heart in this room, we just open to that sense of wonder that is found within. I know for each beautiful heart here that this wonderment is absolutely awakened, tapped into, turned on, that it is just so activated. That superpower of wonderment is awake. For that wonderment is the essence of the divine expressing in, through, and as each one of us right here in this moment. And so I know that these deep roots in wonderment this morning, anchor us in that relationship within. That we have this relational wonderment activated so that as we feel and look and see ourselves with divine eyes, it's as if looking at the first time with that lens of love. And as we feel that love, that current so beautifully moving through every cell of our body, that love is broadcasted out, is shared so effortlessly, so beautifully, for it is just the overflow, the out picturing of our souls who are absolutely awakened to that sense of wonder. I say thank you, Spirit. Thank you, God, for this time together this morning to journey with that sense of awakening, just feeling and knowing that all is love. And with that gratitude, I release this prayer. And so it is.
Take a little love and pass it on to Dr. Bird. Take a little love and pass it on. And before you know it, the world will start to show it. If you take a little love and pass it on, take some peace for him. Take a little peace and pass it on. Take a little peace and pass it on. And before you know it, the world will start to show it. If you take a little peace and pass it on, give him an energy hug. Take a little hug and pass it on. Take a little hug and pass it on. And before you know it, the world will start to show it. If you take a little hug and pass it on. Last time, love. Take a little love and pass it on. Take a little love and pass it on. And before you know it, the world will start to show it. Take a little love and pass it on.
Now is our time of offering. And if our beautiful usher, Irene McKnight, could work her way forward. And I also ask that if we could have someone else from this side just facilitate a little bit so that Irene isn't running around so much. Irene, if you could come forward, we want to appreciate you. Thank you. Irene's going to do it her way, but can you pause just for a second? I love you, Irene. Hold on, Kenny. Stop that basket. Stop that basket. Those of you in the back, you've given of your love, you've given of your bounty. And I'd like for us all to take a moment and put our hands on our heart and repeat after me. I give this gift for you.
I give this gift for you.
I give this gift for me.
I give this gift for me.
Knowing that as I give, so shall I receive.
Knowing that as I give, so shall I receive.
And so it is.
And so it is.
Let's carry on.
I can see clearly now the way I can see all obstacles in my way. Gone are the dark clouds that have no line. It's gonna be bright, sunshiny day. I think I can make it now. The pain is gone. All of the bad feelings have disappeared. All here is that rainbow I've been praying for. It's gonna be bright, sing it, bright, sunshiny day. All look all around, there's nothing in the sky. All look straight ahead, there's nothing in the I can see clearly now the rain is gone. I can see all obstacles in my way. Gone are the dark clouds that had me blind. It's gonna be bright, sunshiny day. What kind of day is it gonna be? It's gonna be bright, sunshiny day. Oh, it's gonna be bright, sunshiny day. Oh, it's gonna be bright, sunshiny day. It's gonna be bright, sunshiny
Irene and I are great friends, so we can tease each other a lot. And I bless these offerings, these tithes, these gifts that have come forth here today and then come forth to us in so many ways. I know that these gifts go forth from us and multiply many-fold over and do all the good of CSL Parker, all the good of CSL, and all the good of our hearts. So please join me in saying, and so it is. And I'd like to ask Reverend Samira to do a benediction for us, please.
It's on.
It is.
Yeah. Speak to it. Hello?
All right, so if we just want to go within, and I just absolutely declare and know that that sense of wonderment, that we all go home today completely and fully in touch and feeling that deep essence that each one of us is born in the, and that there is that essence of the divine absolutely alive and expressing in so many vibrant, beautiful ways. That you feel the blessings of being wonder-prone. And so it is.
So it is.
Let